Well, good afternoon, morning. Yes, good morning, and welcome to the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. Hi, how you doing? I'm Big Daddy Gonzo. I repping the Dolphins, repping my team, going for 6 in a row today. Seated across from me, who is currently sporting the insignia of the Pittsburgh football team in the city of Pittsburgh, the Steelers, I believe they're called, right? That's the name.
There's only one football team, and that's in Washington. So,
okay, but the football club from the city of Pittsburgh,
the Black and Gold,
Black and Gold, who happen to be, I think they've won a few games. Have they lost any games yet?
They have exactly lost one less game than the entire division of the NFC East. So, yeah, the NFC East has 10 wins combined, 4 teams. Steelers have 9 and 0 next to the loss. So,
that's really interesting. If the Steelers were in the NFC East, would they have already clinched the division
2 weeks ago?
I think they would have clinched the division by now.
First team to clinch week 6. Yeah,
that would have been amazing. So, congratulations to you. You're up against perennial tomato can. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I can't say perennial tomato can, but they are a tomato can. At least this year they are. They're in a little bit of disarray. They got 1 win, I think. Which would put them in second place in the NFC East.
Maybe a game out.
Yeah,
they have 1 win this year.
Yeah, well, I'm messing with the Cube Zoom right now. I'm going production crazy.
I was in that stadium many years ago in Jacksonville to see the game. I've been there. Do you remember the game where Cowher stepped on the field and it looked like he was going to tackle the guy returning that kick for Jacksonville to win that game? I was at that game.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, and it was awful. And we took such abuse for all the wannabe Jacksonville Jaguar fans that are still out there, if there are any. 20 years ago plus when I was in that stadium, they were abusive. I mean, like the abuse that we took, not only after the loss, which was bad enough, because when you travel to a stadium, spend all kinds of money for the weekend, get liquored up with your buddies, and then take an L, it sucks because it's at the end of the weekend, and you remember the last thing you did.
You're a little hungover and pissed off.
Oh, we got we almost got in like 2 fights. There was 4 guys I was with. They were brutal.
You know what's really funny? Okay, well, first of all, it's Jacksonville. Okay, let's remember where Jacksonville is. Jacksonville is in there's the armpit. They're like the backside of the armpit.
Okay.
I mean, come on. Did you look at the town while you were there? Did you look around at the town while you were there?
We partied in Jacksonville. You know what? Where we stayed too, we were lucky because I think we stayed, if I remember correctly, at a friend's house. He had a nice place up there at the time. It was a friend of a friend type thing.
Right, but it was in the suburbs, right?
Oh no question. Yeah,
it was in like Fernandina Beach or some crap like that.
Ponte Vedra, is that up there?
Right, Ponte Vedra.
That's where they play that golf tournament too.
It is a combination of old deep south, so you're gonna hear banjos,
which scares you tremendously,
and it's going to be. I mean, it's one of those cities that you go to that you go, yeah, Jacksonville, it's nice in spots and places and a couple of places. I mean, listen, when I went there, I have family in Lake City, which is about a half hour out. Lake City is more in the center of the state of Florida, and it's right there on that I-10 corridor. Right. The Interstate 10 goes across the top of the Panhandle.
Right. I have it up there.
So I went with my cousin, my mother, and my brother. We went to an away game with the Dolphins and Jags, which we won. And suffice to say, their public transportation, including taxi cabs, is a little screwy. Okay, it's a little screwy. We ended up waiting like an hour and a half after the game trying to get a cab to come find us at a football stadium, at an NFL stadium, at a stadium that hosts some of the biggest college football games.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah, you would think they'd have that.
without sounding too no, okay, people in Jacksonville are just plain butt stupid. Okay, they are. I have not met a smart person from Jacksonville.
We're never going to have that
Never,
demographic.
and I've met like 10 of them. Okay, and my mother, who at the time was probably about 60 years old, almost got into a fight with somebody. And my cousin, who is a couple of years younger than me, I had to hold her back from a fight. Now, Shannon would have ruined that lady's night. Drunk lady, you still owe me. You still owe me for not having a scar on your face, because my cousin Shannon, you think I'm a big boy? She's a big girl. She's stocky. She's not tall. She's got some heft to her.
She's well equipped.
Yeah, she's well equipped. I mean, it runs in the family, that side of the family, the Gilly side of the family, and Shannon would have ruined your night, and you would have something on your face to remember her by.
Yeah.
So you still owe me, Jacksonville lady,
Don't-
stupid drunk lady.
You don't mess with a grazer.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. What? Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Shannon's watching. I'll tell her when you leave. You better watch out.
I've never seen her, so I'm sure she's a
understand.
very
So,
nice girl.
Be nice. I mean, she's
Yeah.
great. Are you
Yeah.
kidding? She's
Yeah.
great. But yeah, Jacksonville's not a destination city.
All right.
Okay. It's
A lot of
pretty-
ghost towns up there.
It's a big Navy base.
Yeah.
With a whole lot of people living around it, and it's like a junction town. It's like you go through Jacksonville on the way to someplace.
Right.
But oddly enough, by population and by size, they are the biggest city in the state of Florida. They're bigger than Miami. They're bigger than Tampa.
Who knew that?
They're an urban sprawl.
Good thing we spent 10 minutes on Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we figured this out.
Well, welcome to Jacksonville talk.
Wow.
We're going to crap all over Jacksonville.
We
for 10
did already.
minutes.
You did already, too. You called all their people
I just-
stupid.
yeah,
Yeah.
stupid.
So there you go. We just lost
Stupid.
that demographic. Yeah, we're
Just
not
dumb.
not picking up Jacksonville anytime soon.
Dumb.
Well, Steelers are going to Jacksonville today. Whatever.
Go Steelers.
9-0
Beat those
team
dummies up.
against a 1-8 team. You see us all the time. Teams play down to other teams. The Steelers tend to do that quite often, in my opinion, being a fan and watched them for quite some time. I don't expect that today. I don't expect the Steelers to go in there and win by 30 either, but this is a game we should handle, and I think we will. So
I'm just trying to get people to watch the show. Now people are like texting their friends that live in Jacksonville. You got to watch the show. They're crapping all over Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah,
right
for
now.
sure.
Yeah, so I am. So
it's a good tactic.
hey, of course, got to
Yeah.
draw viewers.
Oh, yeah.
So the Steelers are probably going to continue. They're going to probably move on to 10-0.
Interesting.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I do have a bit of unfortunate news. One of my favorite all-time players passed away at the age of 75. I think it was the day before yesterday. One Mr. Jake Scott, who played for the Miami Dolphins from 1971 to 1979, I believe it was, 1978. He played for quite a while. Jake was the MVP of Super Bowl VII with 2 interceptions. And back there, I don't think they counted quarterback sacks, but he had a 2 half sacks on safety blitzes, and there was his interception in the end zone that stopped Washington's only scoring drive.
Do they add up to one whole sack?
Yeah. He eventually he got in on two quarterback sacks, but this guy was one of my favorite players, the original number 13, by the way. And for those of you who would like to get me a Christmas present, I would like a throwback Jake Scott jersey it's still 4XL. I like it to be a little loose. I'm losing weight and I'm getting skinnier, but still like a little room in my jerseys. But Jake Scott was one of those guys. Okay, to paint a picture for you, there used to be Family Day for the Miami Dolphins. Used to be at their training facility, their practice facility in Opelika at Barry University. And
We're talking like in the early 80s now. You're going
early
back to
70s.
Early 70s. You're going
little,
back that far?
Little Gonzo.
Okay.
Little Gonzo.
Okay.
Okay. 7, 8, 9-year-old Gonzo.
Semi-little Gonzo.
Well, I'm bigger than the other kids.
Right.
You know, I could drive back then.
I'm just
but
trying to draw a real accurate picture
I drove us there.
for the
but,
people listening. It's semi-little.
I had a 35-year-old girlfriend, but we literally lived 4 blocks away from the Miami. When I tell you that the Miami Dolphins are special to me and my family, okay, not that we did it on purpose, but I literally lived 4 blocks away from Miami Dolphins training camp. I literally, for 6 straight years, went to just about every training camp practice that was open to the public because I could walk there.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And it was in the summertime.
Yeah.
I lived there. So when they had Family Day, it was a big deal. It was a real big deal. And of course, on Family Day, everybody gets out there and you get autographs from the players and everything. And everybody immediately made a beeline for Larry Zonka, who's a favorite of mine, Bob Greasy, favorite of mine. All the glamour players made a beeline for him.
Killer Bees.
But off in the corner, with almost nobody around them, number 13 and number 40, Jake Scott and Dick Anderson, probably at the time one of the best, if not the best, safety duo in the NFL. And me and my brother and my mother, who was in tow, made a beeline right for them. Because it was, we were going to stand in almost zero line, and they would talk to you.
Sure.
Okay? And a couple of times, on a couple of different seasons, we after we got our autograph and we're talking, I'm talking to Dick Anderson for a minute, and for some strange reason he wanted to know if I was going to go to college. I'm 9, I don't know, but all of a sudden I smell cigarette smoke. Jake Scott lights up a cigarette. He's trying to hide it from the kids, but he's smoking as he sparked up a stick.
Sure.
You know, so I mean, this is the 70s. What do you want? But the guy was amazing. The guy had he was what people would call a ball hawk, and he was probably one of the best in Dolphins history. I would say him and Louis Oliver, Dick Anderson and Louis Oliver, best ball hawks in the history of the team. And it kind of bummed me out. You know, I mean, in this putrid year of our Lord 2020, where we are having a lot of heroes die on us, having a lot of Hall of Fame baseball and football and basketball players die on us, that one kind of hit a little close to home. So, ouchie. But, you know, he was 75, and he lived life to the fullest, and he didn't take no shit off of Don Shula. Shula held a grudge for the longest time. Shula got rid of him because he basically told Shula, you know, you can bite my ass. So, you know me, I like people who rebel against authority, too. So, rest in peace, Jake Scott. Okay, so let's see. We've trashed Jacksonville. We've brought the room down with a dead football player.
My buddy's watching, by the way, from Pittsburgh.
You
Mike.
have friends?
He just chimed in. He's laughing because he was on that Jacksonville trip.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, he was like, yeah. He says, funny. He says, you're talking about our Jacksonville trip. Yeah, because there's memories from that trip, and I'm sure you remember, Mike, all the abuse we took. Again, like I said, after the game, those Jacksonville fans were brutal. I mean,
Yeah,
they were brutal.
and it's like,
And think of myself.
what have you done?
Yeah, I'm like Jacksonville.
You got to the AFC Championship game once? Good for you.
I think it was Mark Brunell who beat us in that game.
Right.
He was their guy then. So
you know what these schmucks you know what they decided they wanted to bring up? They wanted to bring up the 63-7 playoff loss that Marino's last game.
Man.
And I was like, you know what? You're lucky my mom's here. I literally told the dude, I'll twist your fucking head off. Oops, see, I dropped an F-bomb.
That's $5 in the jar.
That's 5. That's F.
S's are 1.
That's
That's a
effort.
$5, and you should probably add a tip onto that too.
I'm gonna put a beep on it in post.
Yeah.
But I did. I literally told him. I'll twist your effing head off, pal. You're
Yeah.
lucky my mother's here. You know, and I've got bail money. You know, I got mad.
Anger issues, but
anyway,
I agree.
All right, so memories,
yes.
and memoriams,
Check.
and trashing a fine American military-based city,
Check.
Okay, we've got all those checked
Yes,
off.
we've
Now,
got
how
it
about
all.
fantasy football? Let's talk about some of that. How
There's
about that?
there's games to be played today.
There's a few games happening today.
Yeah, there's games to be played today.
So
Let's see. Where do you want to start? What game you want to go? Individual games? You want to talk about just because here's what I do during the week.
DFS. I want to talk about DFS because I had a really, really good day at the track last week.
You did kill it.
I did have a pretty prolific day at the track last week.
Yeah.
Had my best day at DFS. Now I have lots of mad money to play with, which I'm probably going to immediately lose.
Yeah.
But
Pace
still,
yourself. Yeah.
'cause
Money management.
What did you say my payout was?
And that was 50x, 50 times. I mean,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. So do the math. I mean,
I had a lot of first places.
yeah, you killed
In
it.
a lot of lineups, including the Daily Dollar with 369 players.
Yeah, you really had a
That
good
was a nice
lineup last
field.
week. So let's hope you can repeat that this week too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well,
What I do
we've
all
already
week-
discussed some of that.
What we talked about before we went on was, I'm kind of like the mad note gatherer. And once I figured out how to use my old phone here, because I'm not computer literate or technology literate by any stretch, but I do have access to one area in my
You're
phone.
not Jacksonville dumb.
No, but it's in terms of technology, I'm on the way. What I'll do is
Jacksonville, another shot.
in my little note section area in my phone all week, I'll hear something, I'll put it in the phone. I'll hear something, put it in the phone. So we were talking before the show of all my little scramble notes that I somehow, obviously it helps me in my DFS because I pick up little tidbits, along the way, but it helps me prepare for the show too. So at some point, I just want to be able to just ramble.
Right.
But DFS. Yeah, you had a great week last week. You were really on it this week. So hopefully this week will be the same week. What are some of the guys that you're keen on this week? Not some of the obvious guys because, quarterback play, there's been some guys that have been pretty consistent, Patrick Mahomes and others. But
Well, one thing that I've found that's useful is you got to take players from hospitable matchups. Okay, and we were talking about one particular matchup, which was Green Bay versus Indianapolis.
yeah.
Your boy Aaron Rodgers, your favorite. That's
Listen, we always have a segment on the show for
secret
Aaron.
crush.
That's coming, don't worry. So I am not in favor of the Packers today, and it's not just because of my Aaron bashing. I think the Colts are going to smack him in the mouth today. Aaron doesn't do well when he's under pressure.
They are in Indianapolis. They are in the Dome,
The numbers obviously support that.
the Lucas Oil Stadium.
The Colts are number one against the pass and number two overall defense. Now, positive game scripts for the Packers, you see what they do on offense. Since Devontae's come back, he's averaging like 2 touchdowns a game. He's been amazing. But I think today's going to be different for them, and I think because they'll be able to pressure Aaron, get him uncomfortable. The knock on the Packers overall is that they're a little bit soft. When they face teams that can line
Gonna
up
punch him in the mouth.
mano a mano, they can obviously create some problems for the Packers. So I'm not on Team Packers today. Not that I'm really ever on Team Aaron, but overall, I just think that the Colts are in a good spot, and this is a game for the Colts where Colts are leading their division. They're in a good spot overall. But this is a statement game for the Colts because this is one of the games on your schedule that you look at and you go, wow, Packers, this is going to be a really tough matchup and obviously a very tough game. So winning a game like this not only extends their lead in the division, but it's one of them check boxes game where you're like, wow, Packers, they came in and the Colts handled their business. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out today. But I'm on Team Colts today.
Well, I would hope that they're not under the delusion that the Colts were just going to be a gimme. They're going to go on the road and pick up a W and come on back and pal.
Now, the advantage in the quarterback position, you get Rodgers and Rivers, so certainly it's Rodgers from that perspective. But, again, it's a team game, and Rivers has shown that at times where if he's had time to throw the football, he's done fairly well.
Right. Well, we've never really known Phillip Rivers to be a game manager, but he's always managed games well. How many times have we seen him on Monday Night Football and shootouts and duels?
His
and
numbers are
whatnot,
gaudy.
and
They're
clutch
gaudy
time
big.
and-
Listen, he's first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right.
That's not even something that we're going to even
He's
have
like
to
the Dan
debate.
Marino of this era. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl yet, though.
Well, and that'll be the knock. But still, with this team, with right now how they're playing, getting him obviously some protection. Colts is top 5 offensive line.
Sure.
So, and now what they're doing today is the guy that I was high on, Jonathan Taylor, a little bit of hot water. I heard that Nyheim Hines is going to be the primary ball carrier today for them.
Naheem.
And that's not good for me because I have Jonathan Taylor across the board. Actually made a trade for him as well.
No, but
So-
I do have Hines on a couple of DFS lineups.
So that's a sneaky DFS type play, or daily, or I mean not daily, but season long certainly. If he's on your bench in your leagues, I would
If
think
he's available in your league.
he's a must start. You know what? I had him probably on every team this year at some point. I think I actually drafted him because I drafted him as the handcuff to Taylor.
Right.
Because I do have Taylor that I actually did draft as well as also trade for. But all right, Colts today, good spot. Packers, not so good spot. Again, Team Colts for me today.
Well, the guy that I like in that lineup and the guy that I like in that matchup is young Mr. Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah.
out of Ohio State.
Big week last week. Third
Well,
week back.
Young man's had injury.
Yeah,
issues.
third week back last week. I think he had 10 or 11 targets last week. He had 8 catches for a lot of yards.
He is a big, rangy receiver.
Yeah.
He's a high point go get it guy.
Yeah.
And I think he's had his ups and downs. He's had his rookie growing pains. And we all know that Phillip Rivers falls in love with receivers.
Oh, yeah, especially the big ones. Yeah.
Well, and that's the reason why T.Y. Hilton's wondering where the ball is.
Well, you know what? It's funny you say that
Nobody, no, he's not throwing me the ball.
because
He's a little dude.
he's a slot guy,
He's
but
a burner.
I'm going to say this about T.Y. Hilton. He has 2 games a year where he goes 6 for $140 and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
He hasn't had it yet this year.
Right, but that's 2 bombs that he catches.
Well, again, I'm just saying from a stat line perspective, he has been terrible this year because I had him, and I've had him, and I think I've just recently actually maybe even dropped him.
Every time I've picked him up in leagues, he's gotten hurt.
He's not performed this year at all.
From Jacksonville, is that where he's from?
For whatever reasons. But I'm calling a T.Y. Hilton touchdown today.
No, Michael Pittman Jr.
Well, I mean, maybe Pittman too, but I'm calling a T.Y. Hilton touchdown today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There will be a T.Y. Hilton sighting.
A do factor T.Y. Hilton touchdown today.
Okay.
Means to regress to the means. So his
well-
means is 0 all year, so
Right.
he's due for a touchdown. Yeah.
Well, I mean, other players that we're expecting to go off today
Yes.
are guys like Terry McLaurin,
Love him.
Nick Chubb in a quagmire in Cleveland.
Little rain there today.
Little rain. I think it's the perfect opportunity for Chubb and Hunt to each have 20 carries each
Say-
and just grind the ball in a mud bath.
Can you say Nick's name again for me?
Nick Chubb.
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
Why?
I just wanted you to say Chubb.
What, Kareem Hunt?
I'm
What?
not sure. Wow. Now you're getting really awkward.
Okay.
So, yeah, love McLaurin. You mentioned Mike Davis before the
Mike
show.
Davis.
I'm a Mike Davis
believe
guy
that,
today.
We're not going to see Teddy Bridgewater in the Carolina game.
Yeah.
So that's going
lot
to
of
be
Mike
a heavy
Davis.
emphasis on
Mike Davis, who has shown that he can certainly do some damage.
True.
Yep. I love all those guys. Trying to think who else I was really big on today. I am kind of on Team Chargers today a little bit. That's another
What,
team.
against the Jets?
Yeah. I mean, again,
Well, listen, beware. A little tidbit came across in the early morning analysis between myself and the Guru's Guru. And the Guru's Guru gave me a tasty little tidbit of info. That is the New York Jets have only given up 7 touchdown passes
wow.
all year. 7.
That's an
7.
interesting stat.
That's a lot.
So they're getting
That's
beat-
not a lot.
so they're getting beat on the ground.
They're getting beat on the ground.
Okay.
Okay, so you might want to beware when you want to, grab a Charger receiver or you want to, use that Charger air game. Might not work out so well.
So on the ground today for the Chargers, huh?
I would
You're
would
talking
recommend
a little
it.
Kalen Balaj then.
Yes, that was a guy that you had touted as sort of a sneaky play today.
Yeah, I do like him today. 16. I think he's averaging 16 touches the last 2 weeks.
Well, and he's also up against another former team of his and a coach that drafted him.
Could be a little
and
revenge
supposedly
factor.
believed in him.
Could be
and
a revenge
then
factor.
Cut him.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody who's got a little bit of salt in his game today, a little bit of extra motivation.
Yep.
That would definitely be Mr. Kalen Balaj.
I'm going to throw a cheap receiver at you today.
Ooh,
well,
let's
cheap
get
in
cheap.
terms of daily, but
Let's
I'm
get cheap.
Could be listen. If you need a receiver today, this guy I'm guessing is probably at least 50-60% not owned in most leagues, and that's Marvin Hall, guy for
The other Marvin.
for Lions, yeah. And the reason why I say that is because obviously with the injuries to the Lions today, you got no Galladay, you got no Amendola. They're going to have to move the football somehow. No DeAndre Swift. So they're going to have to move the football somehow today.
The other Marvin, the other white meat.
Yeah, so you got two Marvins out there running routes today, and I'm thinking you're taking the one Marvin.
How many wide receivers can you think of named Marvin?
Marvin Harrison,
Now you're going to completely run out of gas.
Marvin Jones, Marvin Hall,
Jones Jr.,
Marvin Hall,
Marvin Hall, and there you go. You have three.
Marvin Smith.
There is no Marvin Smith.
Wait. I can find him somewhere.
Flail, reach.
Practice squad Cardinals. Here he is. Yeah, got him. Marvin Smith. Yes.
Marvin Johnson.
He's a long snapper.
Marvin Johnson the fourth.
He's a long snapper.
Yeah, he's a long snapper.
Yeah, he's a long snapper.
He's a snapper, all right.
All right, so listen, now we're banging on Marvins.
Yeah, we're banging on Marvins.
You know that's the number one surname in Jacksonville is Marvin? So go figure.
I bet.
Yeah, go figure.
That Melvin.
Go figure.
Melvin.
Yeah.
I also agree. I have actually switched to Marvin Jones for Marvin Hall on your recommendation.
Yeah, you saved some money there.
To one lineup.
Sure.
It was probably going to be a money lineup. I believe in Ben Roethlisberger having a big day today. I think he's going to carve up that Jacksonville defense.
He's got some weapons.
A sneaky play today would be Cam Newton.
I like it.
Cam Newton rushing the ball, throwing the ball. I think they're going to run all over. I think they're going to run all over Houston. I think Cam might have his first 100-yard day.
I'm not sure what Houston's
Multiple
playing
touchdowns.
for at this point, really. I mean, what a disappointment just for the last several years.
Sure.
And it's a shame.
And as a Dolphin fan, I cheer for everybody who's playing against Houston.
But
I
you know,
want Houston to lose.
I really like Deshaun Watson, and I just think he's just gotten the short end of the stick.
He might get killed today.
Well, he's been getting killed for the last 3 years. He's
Stephon
always
Gilmore is back today.
Watson has been, in terms of pressures and sacks, the top 3 every year.
Yeah.
It seems like since
Poor
he's
kid.
been in the league.
Yeah, how'd that Tunsil trade working out for you?
Yeah. So and
It's working out great for the Dolphins. But
what Bill O'Brien did and trading Hopkins and getting not much back for it, and all the questionable moves that they've made, you just feel bad for a guy. Listen, we've talked about it before. To be successful across any landscape, any sport, football notwithstanding, is environment. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. And use a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Perfect system, perfect coach, talent around him, myriad of weapons, good defense. Again, he's still obviously clearly one of the best quarterback in football, but he's also in a pretty good situation.
But still, there's a lot of outside of him, outside of Deshaun Watson, outside of JJ. JJ Watts is,
But he's on the other side, I think, at this point.
Outside of those
unfortunately.
two guys,
Yeah.
what surety do they have? What stability do they have?
If you don't draft well, you can see it. It doesn't take long. It's
Right.
1 or 2 years of bad drafting and then a few bad decisions from the front office in terms
yeah.
of like moving a guy like Hopkins. That'll set your franchise back 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
And what's happening is that a guy like Deshaun Watson, a guy like J.J. Watt, you're wasting their talents, essentially, especially a guy like J.J., who for 3-4 years was the best defensive tackle in football. And
Right.
the Texans have nothing to show for it.
Well, first of all, trading Nuke was a Moneyball decision. They knew that they were not going to be able to pay Watson and pay him at the same time. He wanted more money.
Yeah.
So that was going to be a Moneyball decision. He wanted an extension. He knew he was the, quote, best wide receiver in the NFL, which I think is a generalized term.
Sure.
But
Again, they're a product
you
of their
were
system,
not going
too.
to be able to pay your franchise quarterback and be able to keep a franchise wide receiver like that. So they were kind of backed into a corner with that, but I think the yield on that trade was just dumb.
It was terrible, too.
Terrible. You had to recoup those first-round draft choices that
When
you lost in the
teams
Tunsil trade.
are making statements, and you wonder where these come from, if they come from the agents, if they come from other players, or even the coachings, but when you put out there, especially a guy like Hopkins, that you want to move a guy like that, you're at a disadvantage because you've lowered the value of that. If you're showing initiative on moving a player, then to me that knocks the player's value down. And other teams are more in a position where they can be opportunistic and almost throw darts at the wall, in terms of being able to, pull off a trade like that. So I mean, bad for the Texans. And again, unfortunate because you got guys on that team that are ballers and that have been like that for a long time. But again, you're wasting their years. J.J. Watt, I mean, to play at his level, I mean, at this point, for the next, 2-3 years maybe out of J.J. Hopkins, the way he's getting beat to death every game for years, not just for a season, but for the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, let's remember when he came in, when he came into the league, he was the second banana to Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
You know, he was the second or third banana as far as options are concerned.
Yeah.
Because they had no quarterback.
But that's just one of those teams that just can't get out of their own way, in my opinion.
Okay, so we've had a boo-hoo moment for Houston. Screw you, lose. Anyway, on to other quarterbacks that I think are going to have a pretty fantastic day. Not just because I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, but I think we're going to see a decent day out of Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a multiple touchdown day. He may flirt with 300 yards. Along with him, I think that Savon Ahmed, he's going to repeat or do better, improve upon his performance from last week, which was, a 16.5 point performance?
Came out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, you start sneaking players on from the University of Washington, and all of a sudden you're like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Who's that guy? You know, you get them from certain systems. You get guys of a certain mentality. Now, he was a backup, and he was brought on the practice squad because of his work ethic, period. So I think that those two guys are going to have a good day. Now, who is going to be the beneficiary of Tua's improved day? It's quite possible that Jakeem Grant could have a little bit of a breakout game.
He have a touchdown last week?
He had a receiving touchdown.
Yeah.
And I think the previous week he had a punt return touchdown.
Yes,
so,
he did. Very talented player.
Young man is, he's 5'4", and 165 pounds.
Joe Pesci out there running around.
He's two inches shorter than the water boy.
I'm on the other side
but
for this game
he's
today.
a grown-ass man.
I am on Team Denver. And I think the reason why is because, well, for a few things. Denver's always a tough place to play. Now, Denver's really struggled this year with injuries and the quarterback play and such. But
they're missing 3 defensive backs now. They're getting into the second and third string DBs.
I will say this, all that withstanding. When you hear stuff like no rookie quarterback has ever won 4 straight starts and all this other stuff, when you start, there's reasons why it's difficult to get to these accomplishments. And that's because it's difficult to get to these accomplishments. Again, checking boxes. That's one of the boxes I'm checking. Granted, there's injuries on the defensive side for Denver, but when Tua is also coming out and saying stuff like, "Oh, this game's a little easier than I thought."
No, he
Let
said
me
it's
spin it.
not as hard as I thought it was going to be, but it's still hard.
Stop defending. Let me just tell you what's going up.
I am just paraphrasing.
Okay, well then let's
I'm
put
quoting.
All right, well let's put that paraphrase on the board.
Quote.
Let's put that in the Denver locker room. Okay, that paraphrase. And you don't think that's going to fire them up a little bit? I just think that again, with maturity comes a lot of things. And we're asking a lot of these young quarterbacks to always be right, to always be on point, to always have 300-yard games, to always win games. That's not the NFL. That's not the history
I don't
of
think
the NFL.
he's going to have a 300-yard game. I really don't. I mean, it's possible it's going to be his yardage total is going to be in the mid 250, mid 200s, 250, 260.
All I'm saying is that history will tell you that there will be missteps, and there hasn't been many for Tua to this point.
He opened with a misstep. He got the bad stuff out of the way real quick.
But he hasn't lost yet. So, again, teams do lose football games regardless.
He's not losing for the rest of the season. There, I just jinxed the whole damn thing.
I'm just saying, I don't love the spot today for Miami and for Tua. I think that's a lower type scoring game. I mean, Dolphins may still win the football game, but I don't think you're going to see
a trap.
I'm saying trap again. Regardless of the records, Denver's a tough place to play. Just it is in general. Doesn't matter who the other 11 guys
just ask
are.
New England.
Yeah.
They took Cam apart and
and
beat Cam up.
You got some locker room material with Tua coming out as a young quarterback, as a rookie quarterback, and saying some of the stuff he's saying. I don't care how you want to phrase it or whatever it is. This is what these teams are about. This is what they do. They look for stuff like this. You can't say that these sorts of things don't resonate for other teams to incite whatever it is that they need to do to get them ready to play football on Sunday. Emotions,
2-8.
Emotions in football are like any other sport.
Right.
And I'm just saying, if a 2-8 team needs anything to get themselves up for the game,
yeah.
these are the types of things that do that. These guys are still professional football players. So I'm assuming they're going to come out there and play hard. And if they do that, tough place for the Dolphins. They may win the football game. They're the better team. That's not in debate.
Late breaking news. Teddy Bridgewater active versus the
Whoa.
Lions.
Interesting.
Oh,
Get Teddy in there.
So that's why I keep the TV on over your shoulder, because then I can look right over your shoulder and go, oh, and there's Teddy Bridgewater warming up.
I thought there was a clock above my head.
I guess no, it's the other way. It's the other side.
Okay.
But Teddy Bridgewater is now listed as active.
He's starting. Good for
You know,
Teddy.
I guess the lidocaine is working. You know,
And they're like, yeah, I don't feel a thing.
good needle.
Good stuff. I want to get to my notes.
Get to your notes. We've jibber jabbered. One more shot at Jacksonville. You suck, Jacksonville. Go ahead.
Just random stuff that we can talk about. Obviously.
from Jacksonville. Well, go ahead.
One team we're not talking about in the NFC, or at least I'm not hearing it being talked about, is the Rams. Okay?
Very quietly.
The Rams are playing some pretty good football. Now, they are behind Seattle and all the talk with Russell Wilson, but you've seen Seattle, their armor's been chinked at times this year. They've had some pretty not so overwhelming games. I will say this about the Rams. Under McVay, when they had the lead at halftime, they've never lost. So, obviously, you know what that tells me? That tells me that, one, they prepare well from a coaching perspective,
Yes.
from a team perspective.
Yes,
But
immaculately.
But even more so, they adjust well too. Because to never give up a lead, or at least lose a game once you have a lead, coaches go to halftime trying to what? Outsmart the other team, outsmart the other coach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there hasn't been a coach yet that's been able to do that post halftime against the Rams, because
Right.
they've won every football game.
Right.
So when you're looking at advantages for teams and coaching and stuff like that, you got to put McVay top of the list.
Right.
And obviously, with the way they've played and the way they do play, they can beat you in a myriad of ways. They got a ton of weapons on offense, not just running the football, but with all the receivers they have. And they can bring some pressure. I mean, they got one of the best defensive tackles in football.
Right.
So the Rams, to me, are one of those teams that are quiet, are a little bit under the radar, because they're chasing teams like Seattle and in terms of being,
Arizona.
well, not just in the NFC, but when you talk about the elite teams,
Flash teams.
Steelers 9-0, Ravens, obviously Kansas City, other teams, Green Bay.
Right.
Rams, when you finally get to them, you've already named 8, 9, 10 football teams.
Right. And you're like,
And the Rams, because they're in LA and whatever. But I think we're underselling the Rams just a little bit at this point.
Right. Well,
So,
listen, one of the keys to success in the NFL is not just having a smart head coach who can, who's malleable, who is,
and they love him too.
and can think on the fly.
And he's a player's coach. And
But you have to have a quarterback that can be the extension of that coach on the field. And when a lot of people, they criticize Jared Goff, they're like, well, he's not worth the money and he's not a flashy quarterback. But meanwhile, as the season progresses and the W's pile up, you see that Jared Goff, he's, inside the top 10 as far as ranked quarterbacks for rating and yardage
Yeah.
and completion percentage.
Goff-
And you're wondering, how did that happen?
Goff is a franchise quarterback, and he's their
Period.
franchise quarterback, and he's good enough to win big games.
He is the avatar for his head coach. He is the extension of that head coach to execute his game plan.
Clearly,
Period.
and we've said this too. Wherever you put the onus on, is it coaching? Is it players? Clearly, it's both. It always is. I mean,
Right.
there are in certain sports the balance may shift a little bit from players to coaches. Football is one of the sports that coaching is very, very important. Environment we've talked about, very, very important. But you need players,
Right.
And you have golf, and you have other skill position guys
Right.
that play well every week. So that's a team I think, like we said, I think is a little undervalued in terms of where they are right now at 6-3, a game behind Seattle, and that certainly is in the playoff hunt. And is certainly in the hunt to win the division still, in my opinion, because Seattle has shown that listen, as good as Russell Wilson is, and as flashy as they are, well, that withstanding, but Seattle's defense is terrible, and
Carlos Dunlap has changed that a little bit.
but they're still pretty bad. I mean, they're like 27th in the league still in defense.
Right.
And with the injuries they've had at the running back position, even though Carlos Hyde stepped in last week, played pretty well.
Right.
It's the Russell Wilson show. And he's been doing it, and I don't see it stopping. But again, it's a lot to ask a guy game after game, week after week, to put the team on your shoulders in all these different environments,
they're ready to call
circumstances.
Marshawn Lynch again, just like they did
It's
with the Raiders.
possible. Yeah, he's making enough off of Camels, but he's got lots of soup money, as they say.
Soup and potato
Soup
chips.
money. But okay, the Rams are certainly one of the teams I think that are very, very, very much in the thick of it in the NFC and certainly in the landscape of the NFL. Totally,
I totally agree. X gets the square.
X gets the square. One of the things that I saw, which was very interesting, Tom Brady when he was with the Patriots for his career, never had a 2-interception game. Okay, now that's an
Strange,
amazing
but true.
stat. It's an amazing stat. So far this year with Tampa, he's got 3. Now, obviously, we know why Jameis got chipped because Jameis threw a lot of interceptions.
Right.
And they said that it
And
probably
Bruce Arians likes to dial it up. He is a gambler.
This is
no big balls, no blue chips.
This is another knock on Jameis, even though it's not an intentional knock. They say that as many interceptions as he had last year, he also led the league in interceptions dropped, which means you could have very easily put a 10 spot on that number.
But the dude threw for $5,000.
Oh, he threw, but
he threw 36 touchdowns.
Chuck and duck, baby, chuck and duck. So my point is this: when you look at Brady this year, and you can certainly account for why he's got 3 games where he's got 2 picks. Is it coaching? Is it Brady? Is it Jameis? It's something to consider. The fact that you've got a Hall of Fame GOAT quarterback throwing picks where he's never done that before, and now he's in a system where obviously it's a little bit more interception friendly. So interesting, just something I picked up on.
Okay.
You have something you want to add to now? Listen, you know I'm not a Brady guy, so
Right. I can both crap on and praise Brady ad nauseum.
Exactly. We not have a problem at all.
We could do the rest of the show about how Brady should play for Jacksonville, but
We did. We obviously talked about Russell Wilson and how good he is. He's still leading in the MVP race, in my opinion, and most others.
you don't think Kyler Murray's sneaking up on him?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Last week, they matched up, and everybody was talking about, Kyler Murray, Kyler Murray, Kyler Murray. Now, I am a Kyler Murray guy. I love the kid. I think he's amazing, makes all the plays. Obviously, underdog-type mentality, little guy, whatever. So this guy's had to work, okay? And I like guys like that because that usually translates to the NFL. So all week you're hearing about how good Kyler Murray is, and clearly still how awesome Russell Wilson is, and has been pretty much since he's gotten to the league. But I just need you to take a step back because when you draw these comparisons against a second-year guy, okay, who is not really in the same class as a Russell Wilson, there aren't many quarterbacks are.
No.
And I think you saw that last week. One of the alarming stats that I picked up along the week about Kyler was when he's facing pressure, he's like second worst in the league passer rating. Okay, just behind my other favorite quarterback.
Just ask
in
the Miami
Cleveland.
Dolphins.
Yeah.
Blitz the crap out of him.
Now, again, second-year guy, you wouldn't expect him to be able to read every defense, make every throw, not be in the position where he's at. But it's true, okay? You pressure the kid, and he's going to struggle. You pressure Russell Wilson, I think he's number 1 against the blitz. So, again, experience,
Well, he's
reading
also 5
defenses.
inches taller.
Well, Russell Wilson isn't a big guy either. But regardless of
My
that,
point exactly.
give these guys a chance to play. A guy we mentioned like Tua today, tough spot. Granted, Dolphins are a better team than the Broncos, but again, these guys are young. They're going to take – this is the NFL. There's going to be missteps. Okay, no matter what the team's record is on the other side, you're going against the best of the best every week. And the younger guys are going to struggle at times.
Would be harder.
Yeah, great job, Tua. So Kyler, granted, I think he's going to run that franchise for many years.
This is hard.
But he has a little bit of a chink in his armor that needs to be addressed, and I'm sure they will.
There you go with chink. That sounds kind of racist.
I don't mean it to be that way. I'm not closing one of my eyes. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, so you clearly see what experience, what talent does for you. couple years in the league, it definitely shows. Now, guys like Justin Herbert, guys like Joe Burrow, everybody's like, oh, these guys are amazing. When they finish this first year for those guys I mentioned, second year for Kyler, you're going to be able to look back at these guys and clearly see the peaks and valleys.
Right.
Why? Because that's what the position is year 1, year 2, year 3 at this level.
Sure.
It's very rare that you have a Patrick Mahomes type guy. But again, environment plays a large part of it where everything seems to just always fall into place.
Right.
So that's why he's the best quarterback in football. Him and Russell are definitely 1A, 1B, and there's no argument there. So that was my little Kyler Murray take. Patrick Mahomes, how about this? 5-0 when facing a 10-point deficit or more. That says something about your team and about your quarterback.
Well, and speaking of the Kansas City Las Vegas matchup, we're gonna find out now. We're gonna find out because Las Vegas has been playing like they're for real, like their defense is for real. You know, Abrams at safety has been everything that they thought he was going to be and more. The kid played a grand total of 35 minutes last year, and he hurt his shoulder and he was out for the season.
Yeah.
Okay, and I remember in the first game of the season, he chased a guy out of bounds and rolled over in the middle of the second quarter. I'm like, oh, great. Now he's hurt again.
Yeah,
now he's going to be gone again.
It's unfortunate.
And everybody thought he was going to be all world at safety. And it turns out he is really, really good.
They're playing it.
He was the answer for Tyreek Hill in the first game. He was the answer for the deep ball in the first game. And once you get Kansas City to when you take the top off of their passing game, when you keep them going over the middle,
Keep them honest.
keep them honest.
Well, they got a lot of weapons, though.
Lot.
I mean, Kelsey.
Kelsey's going to have 10 catches for 140 yards.
But you know
But
what?
if you keep him out of the end zone.
But like every fourth game, they get contributions from guys like Demarcus Robinson, who go 6 for 100 and a touchdown.
Pringle.
Or again,
Pringle, the potato chip guy.
that's what good teams do. It's when you do have guys that'll lock down your top guys. They have so many other guys that
Right.
step in that can play, like
Right.
we mentioned. So, no, 100%. But the Raiders are for real. I mean, Derek Carr is like 72% completion percentage.
Is that crazy?
Top
right?
5 offensive line. Jacobs is running the football. The Raiders are, and Gruden, I mean,
And when I see him on fantasy league waiver wires, and people are starting quarterbacks like Cam Newton, and it's like, what are you people thinking? I mean, I've got good quarterbacks. I really have no need to go grab another quarterback of that quality.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see him on the waiver wires out there, and I'm thinking, like, what are you people thinking?
I like Cam today.
I like Cam today too. But anyway, Carr is having a career year. Jacobs is for real.
100%.
Jacobs is for real.
That is a bell cow guy. Yeah, for sure.
He's for real. I still think they have only to scratch the surface of the talent of their wide receivers. Henry Ruggs III, I think he's going to be a game breaker in the vein of Tyreek Hill. Take the top off your defense. Nelson Aguilar reinventing himself.
As if he can catch the frickin' football,
Yeah.
he can actually stay with
Well,
a
no,
team.
he's actually held on to the ball.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And they've got a couple of other kids down there that are really, there's a lot of talent, and I think and of course Darren Waller at tight end.
Beast.
If they can solve the offensive line problem, which has
they've been
big problem for everybody.
What, the
but-
Raiders? They've been a little hurt, but they've been good. Right now, their offensive line. I said they're top 5. I think they're 7th in offensive efficiency.
Oh well, excuse
So,
me then.
yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me for talking out my butthole.
But that's okay, though. I mean, because, again, that's what you're used to. You're used to teams like the Raiders not being in the conversation.
Yeah.
So it does take a little work to find out where the numbers really are. An example of that, the Cowboys' defense, okay? For me, I've been banging on them. Everybody makes sense because they've been terrible.
I'm all stacked in with Minnesota with Cousins and Cooks and Thielen. I'm all stacked up with it.
But since week 7, we're only talking 5 weeks, they're like 11th overall in terms of defensive efficiency.
Right. Let's also remember this is week 11.
Yeah.
So it's a 4-game sample. They've had a couple of really good games.
Again,
they had a real good game against your Steelers.
I'm just saying, and they've played some decent teams, though, too. So now, is the Cowboys' defense a
Dalvin
top
Cook's
10
gonna run
defense?
all over them.
Listen, Cowboys' defense is not a top 10 defense, but I'm just saying they're playing better. And those are two teams that aren't going anywhere today. and or not just today, but for the season. Even though the Vikings, people are saying they have a chance, they don't have a chance.
Mike Nolan is not a good defensive coordinator. But anyway,
As good as Dalvin Cook is, again,
Jacksonville native.
poor Jacksonville. They're taking a beating today. Can we talk about two quarterbacks that I love talking about because I just think that they're so overrated?
Better not be Gardner Minshew.
That I also have stats to back up the overrated. You know, I've never been a Baker guy or a Cleveland guy for that matter, even though Cleveland, they've got it figured out now. And that's because why? They can play a little defense, and they're running the football with those two guys, with Chubb.
You can run the
And
football
Hunt.
35 times.
Yeah. Now, Baker's numbers this year, on the surface, you're like, oh, he's pretty efficient. 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. His passer rating is right around 90. And the Browns are, what, 6-3, I think they are?
Yes, they are 6-3.
So, wow. you know,
And the weather report is quagmire today.
it's
Giggity,
nasty,
giggity,
nasty.
quagmire.
So
100% chance of rain.
when people are assessing the Browns and Baker, they're like, oh, wow, Baker Mayfield. He's throwing for 182 yards per game in today's NFL.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, which was like Fitzpatrick's halftime line was like 182 yards. Okay. Baker's never been much more than a game manager, in my opinion. He's not athletic. He's not super accurate. He's a little flaky, in my opinion, okay, in terms of decision making, that gunslinger mentality, whatever the hell that means in the NFL these days. It doesn't equate well, in my opinion, overall. It does at times. You're like, wow, what's a hell of a throw. But yet they lost the game. Baker is who he is. Now, is he enough to win games consistently, like, say, maybe even playoff games? I'm not sure because I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to
He
be
has
at home.
his moments.
But I think they know who Baker is.
Yep.
And clearly that's why the game plan has been set up the way it has been.
Well, listen, you look at the entirety of an NFL game, okay? What do you get, 12 possessions a game? You get maybe
60 plays.
60 plays.
That's about the
give or
average,
take a
probably.
possession,
Yeah.
maybe 62, 65 plays,
Right.
okay?
Right.
If you're running the ball successfully 30 to 35 times, then you don't leave a lot of room for your quarterback to make those critical errors.
Sure.
Okay, and you have two stud running backs. You have at least one Pro Bowl guard and one Pro Bowl tackle, and you have road graders for offensive linemen all across the board. You've been drafting them in the first, second, third round for the last 4 years. Okay, they have obviously built a beast that is meant to keep the onus off of Baker Mayfield. That's the reason why you won't see Odell Beckham Jr. back next year. They will trade him or they will cut him and eat the dead money. Okay, you will not see Beckham back next year.
No, I don't believe
You may see Jarvis Landry get traded.
Well, the
him and
thing
his
is,
$14 million a year contract.
You don't need
because you don't need wide receivers like that.
Exactly. You don't need 3 top flight receivers when you're only throwing the football 25 times a game.
Why do you think they went out and paid Austin Hooper and they didn't trade David Njoku? Even though he was like, well, I want out of here. I'm like, no, we got a plan for you, Dave. You stick around. We're going to, and they're probably going to make Njoku, they're probably going to make him a very high-paid tight end. They're going to give him a new contract.
By the way,
because they don't need flashy wide receivers with this guy.
Bridgewater is now inactive.
He was just warming up. I just saw him warming up on TV with the quarterback coach, the kid from LSU. What was it, Joe Kelly or whatever his name was?
Teddy Bridgewater.
He was just warming up on TV.
Was initially announced as active for Sunday's meeting with the Lions, but your friend and mine, Adam Scheffner, who, by the way, over-under on pagers for him, 6, 7, cell phones, 10.
Cell phones,
at least.
two-way pagers.
He's got like Velcro to his body, all the different.
Crazy.
He's a very
It's
busy
nuts.
man. Bridgewater's being deactivated. So maybe he sneezed and something came out, and they're like, we should test it, and then got a positive. And
Lidocaine wore off.
Who knows? But P.J. Walker will make his first NFL start today.
P.J. Walker.
Yeah, he's been limited to snaps to 2 games this year,
Get
going
you some Mike Davis.
3 for 8 for 15 yards. Now,
Get you some Mike Davis.
listen, I'm on Mike Davis today, but I would feel better with Bridgewater in there with Mike Davis.
Yeah, I know.
You know, 'cause it scares me.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Well, obviously, with P.J. Walker, an unknown commodity. I believe he's from Louisiana Tech. He went to college, Louisiana Tech. There's some strange reason that name just jumps out at me.
You're
at
telling me
Louisiana Tech.
something I am not aware of.
So he's not a guy who is obviously a household name, not a lot of experience, and I'm totally scared. Let's end the show right now so I can get Mike Davis off of all my rosters because he's gonna have 25 carries for 40 yards.
Now let's talk about this because this is where
It's gonna be 9 guys in the box all day.
you want to talk a little bit of strategy for DFS because people may think
Panic.
that Davis may become the popular play now. Okay, because people are going to look at it just like for the same thing you said, volume. But we have to look at what that volume is going to create. And is it just going to be volume or is it going to be volume equals production? Because the Carolina offense doesn't typically scare anyone anyway, even with Teddy.
Yeah, I know.
And again, having Mike Davis in there now as being the target because he's not only the target in terms of volume, but he's also going to be the target in terms of the defense because
Well, we're going to crap all over P.J. Walker, and he's going to throw for 300 yards today.
and I'm going to pull him out of my lineup, Mike Davis, and go, damn, 2 touchdowns and 130 yards.
Yeah.
Wow, 47 touches. We should have kept him in there. But
throw a half a dozen catches
Yeah.
for 50 yards and an extra touchdown while we're at it.
yeah,
because-
you know what?
because we're idiots. We
This
don't know
is
what we're talking about.
The beauty of DFS. Man, wow, that's really tough. All right, so Teddy's not playing. That we do know.
Wait, let's help the guru's guru out too. Hey, guru!
Hey, bring in a McMuffin and come sit with us for a second.
I know you didn't go to McDonald's and not bring nothing back.
What McDonald's?
Okay,
I made that part up.
You're gonna get him in trouble.
He was eating breakfast last week in our shot, so I figured you were doing the same thing today.
Teddy Bridgewater was initially made active
For 11 minutes.
for about 11 minutes. He came out.
Yeah.
He came out. He warmed up.
Yeah.
And I guess they just yanked him back.
They said, "Go sit down."
Made him
Who's the
inactive.
starter?
P.J. Walker,
All right,
which
so
you can go get advice on that at the Guru's Guru on
a lot of people
Facebook.
asking me about DJ Moore. I would say
DJ,
no.
right?
I'm asking you about Mike Davis.
We're talking about Mike Davis. All
Absolutely.
kinds of Mike Davis.
Wow.
25, 28
Absolutely.
carries.
You're not in the camp that suggests that when you start to lose your options, that the options that you have remaining
Matter.
get more focus.
Detroit's run defense is one of the worst
Yeah,
in the league.
Detroit's run
They give
defense is
up a
pretty
lot of
freaking
touchdowns.
horrible. They're terrible.
That's why we had him in there originally.
I mean,
So-
I had
best to go against, Detroit. I'd do it.
yeah. I mean, I had 8 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. I mean, they suck. They're horrible.
I didn't have you last week.
Last week, both McKissick and Gibson went nuts on them.
McKissick caught a lot of passes though too. He caught like 6 balls for like 60. He went crazy last week.
Yeah.
Davis, go.
Yeah. All right, Mike Davis, go.
Well, and McKissick is another guy that we're talking about. Wait, what do we got? Now it's Teddy Bridgewater inactive. I'm looking at the TV over your left shoulder.
Yeah.
There you go. But he's still warming up. I guess you could see he's moving around like me in the pocket.
What's protocol for
good.
inactives and actives? Like obviously they what do they pick up like some red phone and call someone and wherever
Right. Well,
he's playing like okay
in his-
check he's
in
playing.
his case, they dope up the knee. They put the brace on the knee. Then they send him out and they say, okay, well, do your warm up drills, and that's what they did. They did their warm up drills, and what I would just live witness because it's one thing I love about the NFL channel is they are starting at 11 o'clock. They're doing shots of players warming up, and you can catch a lot of info that way.
Sure.
And what I just saw was Teddy Bridgewater doing his drop back, his warm up drills, dropping back and then backpedaling out of the drop back, backwards, and he looked like me, and my nasty knees and my fat butt stumbling all over the place. He did not look stable. He did not look confident. He did not look good.
There's probably a
So that's why
wince
he's
of some
inactive.
kind that came in there and he's like, ooh, that didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Just did you hear a pop? No, but I felt a crunch. A crunch is bad. So first and foremost, Teddy Bridgewater inactive today. Get you some Mike Davis. All right, we're pushing the envelope here up against the noon window, and I've got to go adjust my rosters. So do we have anything in conclusion? What do you got on your phone over
I'm
there?
just looking at stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, anything in conclusion, or are we just going to just say bye?
Did we flat out tout some particular player? Because I think I'm 2 for 2 with the receivers the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago it was Chark. Last week it was McLaurin, maybe?
It was Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin?
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
was on 2 of my 3 lineups that made Monet.
Right. So I'm 2 for 2,
All right,
and I want to go 3 for 3.
which is what?
So I am going
Who's
to.
the guy? You know who the sneaky guy is?
Who?
McKissick. McKissick. The
he
guy
is-
has just done nothing but score 14 to 17 points every
He's
week.
been solid, and for
Every
the price.
week.
But I want the home run guy, so I'm not going to throw out Marvin Hall, even though I think he shatters value.
Hines.
He's not in my lineup. I am going to throw out Justin Jefferson today.
Oh, that's a good one.
Now, it's no surprise. This kid's been really good. Just really good. He has more receiving yards than Julio Jones, than, let's see, I think he's 4th in receiving yards, Justin Jefferson, right now in football.
I don't know if your Mike picked that up, but we had the Aaron C show. I know you guys just watched me stretch, but we just had the Aaron C show here in Fort Lauderdale, right up the street from me here, and we obviously just heard some sort of military grade jet
Yeah. Yeah.
hit the afterburners, and I guess they're heading back. So go ahead now that I'm done stretching and freaking out over another military jet.
Yeah.
I thought it was thunder, but thunder doesn't go.
We don't see any paratroopers falling out of the sky, do
Right.
we? Yeah,
Right.
that'd be
It's
fun.
either that or a rocket took off or we're being nuked, one or the other. So go ahead.
So I don't even know what the hell I was saying, to be honest with you, because I watched you stretch. McKissick. You like McKissick today?
Hines.
Yeah, but
Home run guy.
I'm going Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Jefferson's my guy today.
Against the 11th ranked for the last month Dallas Cowboy defense.
After today, they're going to be back in the top 4 in terms of defense.
Oh, okay.
Or
Well,
bottom 4. whatever
Bottom
that means.
4.
Bottom 4, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about Justin Jefferson. He has made Thielen an afterthought, and that guy was a high draft choice for my league. So screw you, rookie.
Diggs, who?
But, yeah, and Diggs.
Although Diggs doing pretty well for himself, too.
Yeah, well, Diggs is the number 1 man in Buffalo now, so he's gone. All right. I agree. I've actually got Jefferson on one lineup, and I'm probably going to put him in on a second lineup because I don't have the same optimistic outlook for Dallas and their defense that you do.
Yeah.
I think they're horrible. I think they're terrible.
Well, I mean,
they're
I'm not so optimistic as opposed to just telling you where they are. And
Okay.
Again, you said short sample size. It is 4 weeks. Although in the NFL, 4 weeks tells a lot. But their last 4 weeks, their defense has just played pretty well. So
Yeah.
we'll see today.
All right. Well, anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We have not talked about UFOs since we've come back from COVID. So
Well,
just so you know.
Listen.
'Cause they're coming.
UFOs are the least of our friggin' worries.
So far.
we still got to we still got to get one of those 3 vaccines out there distributed. You know, get them out there and get things calmed down so that I can stop wearing a friggin' mask all the time.
I like you and your
although for
mask.
some of you out there, you really should be wearing a mask. I mean, I may be ugly, but I'm not one of them. But you know, the UFOs. Listen, UFOs wouldn't be a shocker. It just wouldn't be a shocker.
We got 6 weeks to this year left.
Listen,
Anything can happen at this point.
look, as weird and as bad and as bizarre as this year has been, okay, we've had asteroids fly really close to the United States.
Are they called asteroids or
or to the-
meteors?
or to the, not the United States, to the planet.
Are they meteors or asteroids?
Meteors, asteroids.
Space rocks.
One got really close.
Well, relative.
Didn't make the news.
You didn't see it, did you?
Listen.
Well, it didn't
with
get
the-
too close
with,
then.
With the lunacy of the presidential election, with the lunacy of COVID, with the lunacy of social justice protests, with the lunacy of all the crazy crap that's happened this year, and asteroids
Meteors.
didn't make the top of the news.
No, it
And they
should've.
got close.
Depends what country you're in, though, because some
Right.
countries are talking about this stuff
Right.
still. Yeah.
Right, but we're not.
You know, Harry Reid was the one who initiated that Space Force program back in his terms, back when he was senator out in California, and then became the big dog over there for the Senate and for the Dems. He was the one who initiated I cannot think of the name of the program, but it was a black ops sort program for the government. They spent millions and millions of dollars on research. and found out a lot of interesting things.
Well, listen, without getting overly political, because you know where I stand as far as the outgoing president is concerned. And I told everybody from the get-go, he is exactly what Washington D.C. deserves. You know, he stirs the pot. He's out there. You know, you elected a reality TV star, and you got what you deserved. And when he came out with Space Force, I was like, yes, Space Force,
Love it.
Just, I mean, out
Sign
of
me up.
all the things that he's said and done
Do I get to wear the suit
in
too?
the last 4 years, you know, because I'm a Star Trek nerd. You know, I'm a Star Trek nerd. Starfleet, you know, the Federation of Planets, total Star Trek nerd. So when he did that, I was like, yes. And then I was like, but we've had a Space Force before, and like you said, with Harry Reid.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, they-
aliens are going to be anticlimactic. Literally, if aliens make it to the top of the news, bringing it back around, steering away from politics, which is always volatile.
It would be the lead story, my guess, in most markets. No?
Aliens are going to be really disappointed if they come down, if it's like the Vulcans in First Contact, and it's like, yeah, you know, it's gonna, wait, let me, you know, he's going to be like, live long and prosper. Be like, yeah, well, what are you registered to vote as? You know, it's like, oh yeah.
How many absentee alien votes are there going to be?
Absentee. How many of you guys voted in the last election?
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be
Well,
anticlimactic. It'll be
they're
like,
the
where are you
reason-
from? You know,
Yeah, Jacksonville.
the Jacksonville aliens. I knew it.
The aliens are the reason why Trump lost the election.
There you go. That's more plausible than all the lawsuits that are going on right now. So that's going to wrap things up for us before we really start pissing people off. Any parting words besides aliens? No.
No. Enjoy your. We're about 2 weeks left to playoffs in most season-long
Don't
leagues.
get me so. And listen, I'm in 2 leagues, and one league I'm 4-6 in both leagues.
Wow.
And in one league, well, you're in both of those leagues too.
Yeah, I'm not 4
along
and
with
6.
5 other leagues.
Yeah, I'm not 4 and 6.
But you know, you're not 4-6. You're crushing it in the other division. Thank God you're in the other division.
Yeah.
You're crushing it in both leagues. You're in the other division and crushing it.
Yeah, I'm having a pretty good year right now.
But in both leagues, in one league, I'm like almost mathematically eliminated at 4-6. The other league, I'm in the NFC East division of fantasy football.
You're a half a game out.
I'm a game out. There's 2 guys are 5
yes.
and 5, and 3 of us are 4 and 6.
You are the in the hunt column. You know that column where they're like
it's just bizarre.
playoff seedings over here, wild cards, and then in the hunt. And
Yeah,
you
'cause,
are right
dude,
now
I
ITH.
At least 3 of my 6 losses have been I played. You know, first of all, I play matchups perfectly. I just do. I play my matchups right. I play the weather. I play all of that. And it just, the guy came out and just crapped the bed. Yeah. And it's just been a lot of crap the bed games. You know, Adam Thielen being chief amongst them.
Yeah.
You know, and in a game, I've lost 2 games by less than 3 points. And that's when Dalvin Cook had a bad day, and that's when I've got Dalvin Cook, and I've got Cook and Henry. I've been riding Cook and Henry,
Right.
Okay, and of course when they decide to have a 5.6 point day, I lose, and I lose by 3 points.
Yeah, it's
You know,
tough.
or I have a backup on the bench that drops a 35-point game, and the obvious starter gives me 11, 8.
Well,
something like that.
We'll
So
do
it's
that
been a hard
show
luck year, man.
again, where if you remember last year when the season concluded, our first show back was talking about where players were taken in the draft and what their true value was.
Right.
And I think last year, 2 of the first round picks actually exceeded value out of and I think we did a mock 12 team.
Yep.
So we took the first 12 guys taken. 2 of those 12 guys hit value. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out this year. I would not be surprised.
I'm happy about Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Well, again, he's one of the guys, but I can give you 5 guys in the first round right now that are shit in the bed. Yeah. So here's $1. Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll get there. So
Okay.
certainly. Yeah.
So let me go change my lineups before the 1 o'clock thing's
yes.
locked out.
Mike Davis in, Mike Davis out.
Okay, Mike Davis in.
Keeping him in. So
It is in you. So on behalf of myself and Demaz, who you can find at MLB Joy Us on Instagram.
Yes.
And, of course, you can search Gonzo Radio on any platform you want, and you'll find us, Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. Say goodbye to the nice people.
Goodbye. Nice people.
And we will see you guys next week at 11 a.m. sharp. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll be back with more fantasy football hijinks and hopefully fewer military-grade jets taking off outside our window. Bye.